Good evening and welcome to a very special night for Beaumont School. My name is Wendy Hoke. I'm the president of the school, and it is my honor to welcome our honorees, their families, guests, and generous supporters of Beaumont. Before we begin our award ceremony, I would ask that we quiet ourselves for a moment as we offer up a prayer. In the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Gracious God, we come before you and ask for your blessing on those gathered here this evening. We ask in particular that you hold in your heart our honorees this evening. Through the example of our patroness, St. Angela Merici, they have modeled the Ursuline values of service to others, courage in attitude, voice, and action, and loyalty to one another. Guide all gathered here in the spirit of St. Angela, that our relationships with others may be rooted in deep respect and loving kindness. Lord, may your unending love and grace be present with us in all moments, great and small, high and low. Through the intercession of St. Angela and St. Ursula, we pray, St. Angela, watch over our days. St. Ursula, protect our future. Amen. Thank you, and welcome back to Beaumont School. I do not have to tell this crowd that Beaumont produces some amazing women. The alumnae of Beaumont are the inspiration for our vision of Beaumont as a place where young women learn to change the world. Tonight's honorees embody Beaumont's mission of life, leadership, and service. Their contributions have transformed athletics, cancer research, and Catholic education. It is our privilege to celebrate with them this evening. Our first class of Beaumont Blue Streaks will be inducted into our inaugural Athletic Hall of Fame. Yes. The Hall of Fame Committee solicited nominations for outstanding team, individual, and coach. At this time, I would like to ask the members of our Hall of Fame committee who have worked for the better part of 2 years on this event to please stand and be recognized. Thank you. Our inductees this evening, we're very excited to have with us the 1990 track and field team. And our individual honoree this evening, Richelle, Webb, Dixon, the class of 1990. And our prolific coach, Gary Bill. October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Our distinguished alumna of 2018 made cancer her business. As a television producer, Noreen Fraser of the class of 1971 understood well the power of the media to move people to action. As a founder of the organization Stand Up to Cancer, she leveraged Hollywood, comedians, and others to raise money in support of women's cancer research. Unfortunately, Noreen passed away in March 2017. She had survived 16 years with stage 4 breast cancer. But her work, her legacy lives on at the Noreen Fraser Fund for Women's Cancer Research at UCLA Medical Center, and it will benefit countless women moving forward. This evening also gives us an opportunity to give the Beaumont Award in recognition of an individual or group who have had a significant impact on the life of Beaumont School over the past year. This year, we honor Ray and Eleanor Smiley, who with their generous gift and visionary challenge helped to set Beaumont on a strong path. So we begin tonight with our inaugural Hall of Fame inductees. The Women's Sports Foundation points out that girls and women who play sports have higher levels of confidence and self-esteem, in addition to a more positive body image. Simply put, girls and women who play sports have higher states of psychological well-being than girls and women who do not play sports. Through athletics at Beaumont, student athletes develop character, advance their leadership skills, learn the values of cooperation and teamwork, and prove to be good citizens who exude sportswomanship. The athletic program at Beaumont School is intended to be an extension of the classroom and to complement the educational experience, as many of the lessons learned through athletics simply cannot be learned from a textbook. At Beaumont, more than 2/3 of our student body participate in interscholastic athletics. The women we honor tonight can tell you firsthand how their time as a Blue Streak advanced their skills in the world. So we're going to begin with the Team Award. It is my pleasure to introduce Lynn Hazel, coach of the 1990 Beaumont track and field team. In 1990, Lynn was a first-year coach at Beaumont. And during the season, many new records were set. And ultimately, Lynn, along with her two assistant coaches, Bernita Ashford and Gary Bill, coached the team to win the state championship. It was Beaumont's 5th consecutive state championship. And with 9 first-place finishes, earned Beaumont a record-shattering 98 points at the state meet. They broke the previous record by 20 points. So please join me in welcoming Lynn Hazel to share some remarks about the team. Lynn.
Good evening. It's good to be back. It's been a long time, and unfortunately, I only spent 1 semester here, but it was the best semester of my life. Before I start, I would like to thank Sister Beverly Ann LaGrasso for being supportive and hiring me, and then Sister Margaret Ann Kelly as well. And I would like to thank Ms. Hoke and Principal Mr. Byer for allowing me to come back and attend this great function. As a matter of fact, Christine Salata, she and I spent a lot of time together trying to communicate, so this was a great thing for me. When I first came here, I had never coached. Coming from Massachusetts and coming from Florida, I had taught 30-some years and coached. I had never done anything indoors track. And so the girls said, "We'll teach you." Okay. So they did. And they did very well, winning everything. So that's where it all began for me. I knew it was going to be a great season when spring track came because that was my specialty. The girls were so knowledgeable about every event, not just their own, every event, thus allowing them to support one another completely. They were committed and determined, motivated. Oh, also, extremely talented. That always helps. It always helps. If you're going for the gold, to have the talent. And we did not lack at all. It was such a pleasure and a blessing for me to be part of that team. It just so happens sometimes I think the Lord puts us in the right place at the right time. And for me, that was what it was that year, that semester. At the same time, I just want to say one other thing before I leave, is that that's when I met my now best friend, Gary Bill, and his wife, Jean. And we have been living and knowing one another since the 90s and sharing our retirement in the villages together. For, I don't know, I've been there, we've had a home there 18 years, and he's been here 19 years, but I didn't get to retire until 8 years ago. So he's a little bit older than I am. Sorry, Gary. Anyway, we've had a great time. We would talk about y'all a lot, and it's so great just to be here and see you. I knew the names and I knew the faces, I just couldn't put them together tonight, so it was really great to see them and see the smiles and receive the hugs. They're wonderful, wonderful girls, and they have turned out to be wonderful women. Thank you.
Our athletic director, Tim Ertl, will read the names, and as we do, we ask each of you to come forward to receive your award. Tim?
Our first recipient is Tiffany Brown. Robin Durr Henry. Cheryl Gibson. Nancy Hackett Clary. Michelle Height. Melissa Hunter. Pamela Pace Dennis. Melissa Supler. Richelle Webb Dixon. Rolanda Webb. Abenita Williams. Assistant coach Gary Bill. Pamphila Watson. Assistant coach Bernita Ashford. And the head coach Lynn Hazel. Ladies and gentlemen, the 1990 state champions from Beaumont School.
Okay, thank you, Lynn and Tim Ertl. And how about another round of applause for the 1990 track and field team? Okay. Now I'd like to invite Dr. Michelle Height to join me on stage. Michelle is a graduate of the class of 1992 and was a member of the 1990 team, as you can see. She is an English professor and honors program director at Spelman College in Atlanta, Georgia. Michelle is a friend and teammate of our individual athletic honoree and nominated her for this award. So please welcome Michelle Height.
It's been a long time since I ran anything, so I have to catch my breath. Really. In Poem for Flora, poet Nikki Giovanni describes being a black girl and feeling estranged from all things good, noble, and beautiful until she comes to see herself in the description of a person in the Bible. Thus, she perks up when she hears in Sunday school that Sheba was black and comely, and she thinks to herself, I want to be like that. Richelle Webb, now Richelle Webb Dixon, was the person who would teach me that I could look to my friends and see God in them, who taught me that, yes, I could admire famous poets and find lessons in parables, but most especially, that I could admire my friends, that my friends could be reliquaries or sacred containers holding evidence of divine abundance right here on earth. American cultural messaging suggests that our admiration should follow and then land on distant stars. But my teammates in general, and Richelle in particular, taught me that if you pay close attention, there is a celestial presence close by that you can look to and say what Nikki Giovanni said of Sheba, I want to be like that. Of course, I could not be like Richelle as a short sprinter. I was not going to post those times as they are indeed Hall of Fame numbers. In fact, most high school girls were not going to even be in the same orbit with the kinds of numbers she posted, like the ones that you will see on the screen. Their wins would come from rule book infractions, a Timex worn on a wrist pumping much faster than its hands could prove useful, say. I could at most hope to be among those appointed in case Richelle was disqualified. So that's another thing that Richelle taught me how to do, a very useful thing. She taught me to face the truth, and the truth is that in life, there will be people who can do things better than you can do them. What I learned in accepting this truth is that there are options to facing this truth beyond envy or jealousy, and even beyond admiration and veneration. You can commit to your life as a witness. In Richelle's case, not running as fast as she could didn't mean that I couldn't take from her example of excellence. I could excel in the classroom as she did. I could confront injustice and intolerance as she did. I could champion my friends by walking miles to help raise funds to further the research that could make them well. I could hold their babies while they were hooded for their terminal degrees. I could wish that I too would not look down on those who looked up to me. Yes, it is true that I could never run as fast as my dear friend and teammate Richelle Webb, but in setting about to be a serious woman of purpose, oh yes, even I could be like that. And so, now it is my honor to call up my friend and teammate, Richelle Webb Dixon, to receive her award from President Wendy Hoke.
Good evening. I am truly honored to be here tonight, one, as the individual athlete going into the Hall of Fame, but more importantly, because I go in with my team. Michelle, I said I wasn't going to cry tonight, but I didn't know what you were going to write, and so I appreciate you. But I don't stand here alone. I stand here on the shoulders of all my teammates, those who are in the room and those who aren't, because we pushed each other to limits that we didn't even know that we could achieve. In 1990, we had 8 coaching changes. So to say that we won state meet after 8 coaching changes means that we stuck together as a family. And so while I stand here as an individual, I am here only because Michelle would push me through those hallway 300s that I absolutely hated, or somebody would give me a word of encouragement. And then my parents, who were at every track meet, just supporting me, and even the Suplers who were in the back, and all the other parents that made sure that we were okay. So I am truly honored to be here. I am truly grateful to be a Beaumont alumni, but I am more importantly thankful for the lifelong friends that we created those 4 years. So I thank you all, and thank you, President.
Thank you, Michelle, for those beautiful words, and Richelle for those beautiful words. Let's congratulate her one more time. Okay. Next, it is my pleasure to welcome to the stage Sister Beverly Ann LaGrasso, former president of Beaumont School, and nominator of our next inductee, Coach Gary Bill.
Well, I spent 10 very happy years here as a teacher, an assistant principal, and a president. And I must comment that I just saw the fall 2018 issue of the Beaumont News, and it is just outstanding. Congratulations. You have been true to the dream of St. Angela Merici, who believed in the dignity and potential of young women as citizens of this world and as citizens of the reign of God. The students highlighted in the issue, like Ellen Pfeiffer, a lead flight engineer at Boeing International, the students on the Dino Dig, and the commitment of Maggie Boswell to the women in El Salvador, confirmed for me once again that the struggle that many of us were engaged in to keep Beaumont viable was well worth it. Charlie Clemens and Sister Margaret Ann are smiling down from above, and I'm sure Jim Delaney and Nancy First will be smiling when they read the fall issue. I urge you not to miss it. I'm also very happy and proud to see that so many of my former students continue the legacy of St. Angela by serving on the Beaumont board, including the current chair, Mary Curran, class of '81, who is here tonight. So to begin this very happy occasion that Sister Rita Mary and I have been plotting for over a year, we want to thank Beaumont School for hosting this event, especially the president, Wendy Hoke, the principal, Nick Beyer, the assistant principal, Michelle Bernot, the alumni director, Christy Salata, and the athletic director, Tim Ertl. Many of us in this room, I know for sure the Ursulines know what it's like to pull off an event at Beaumont. It's a lot of hard work. So thank you. I am delighted to be here tonight. A very special night for Gary Bill, but also a very special family reunion. I have not seen Lynn, Gary's niece, in over 20 years, but Gary got her to Cleveland. A very special welcome to Cleveland, the best location in the nation, to Lynn and John Thornburn from Arizona. Please stand and give them a Cleveland welcome. Accompanying Lynn and John are Gary's nephew, Bill, and his wife, Jan. Please stand and give them a Cleveland welcome. At occasions like this, one thinks about those who are here in spirit. Gary's dad, Uncle Carmen, an accomplished athlete who is said to have placed a golf club in Gary's hand the day he was born, and Gary's mother, Helen, who are both so proud of him and smiling down from above. Gary did nominate Uncle Carmen for a recognition in the Euclid Athletic Hall of Fame. Gary grew up on 260th Street in Euclid. That nomination did not materialize. However, the nominations that Sister Rita Mary and I and many others wrote for Mr. Bill did succeed. I am not the sports aficionado Gary is. I never played golf with Jack Nicklaus like Gary did. I won't bore you with golf jokes or sports jokes about softball that may leave you in stitches, or ask you what you get when you cross the invisible man with a pitcher. Well, you get the best pitching you've never seen. Or the last one, ask you why the police were at the softball game. Well, because someone stole second base. I know, finish groaning. No, I won't torture you with sports jokes or tell you the story about Gary playing softball with 50-plus-year-old guys at Forest Hills Park when Gary hit a home run and ran the bases for about 30 minutes while he stood doing stand-up comedy on each base while he caught his breath. Or no, I won't ask him to come up here and do his Tom Jones impersonation. It's not unusual. What I will tell you is that at Gary's retirement party from the Cleveland Metropolitan School District, his former principal spent the evening repeating aloud to the crowd that Beaumont School had stolen Mr. Bill, at which point she would glare at me. She knew Gary's worth, and she recognized the gap he left. So in 1989, when Gary called me to tell me he was bored with retirement and that he wanted to come and work at Beaumont, I was delighted. CMSD's loss was Beaumont's gain. However, I had to tell him that finances at Beaumont were so precarious that we could not pay him. Until the next year when we could budget for him, hopefully. Thank God and Gary's generosity, he agreed. So onto the Beaumont stage stepped Mr. Bill, the first Beaumont coach to win the Greater Cleveland Plain Dealer Fast Pitch Softball Coach of the Year Award, the Plain Dealer Softball All-Star Coach of the Year in 1992 and 1997, 3 years of sectional championships in golf, and you can read the rest of Gary's accomplishments, professional athletic accomplishments, in your program. In addition to his accomplishments, Gary was known for his ability to relate to students, parents, and faculty in a friendly, outgoing, and motivational manner. I would be remiss in closing if I did not state the importance of sports participation for young girls who grow in self-confidence, who learn teamwork, and who become accomplished women athletes in their own right without being compared to male standards. Gary moved this agenda several yards down the playing field. Congratulations, Gary. We are proud of you. We are grateful to you. We treasure you, and we love you. Please come forward to receive your well-deserved award from Beaumont President Wendy Hope.
Stand this far away, is it okay? Can you hear? Good. Sometimes you get like this. Where's Christine Salata? Is she? I can't see Christine with the light. Is she here? Christine, thank you for the 73 minutes that you gave me to talk. 3 minutes. When did that happen? I'm not even going to read anything, because when you read something, it just doesn't come out right. Coming here to end my teaching and coaching career was something that I never planned on. And when I got the call from Beverly at my retirement party in Cleveland, she said, we can't pay you. So I said, don't worry about the pay. I just want to do it. When I came here, I met more students, young women, parents, teachers, sisters, made me feel like I was one of the family immediately. I saw the need for program development. Karen DeLillo, the then athletic director, let me do what I needed to do to bring teams and sports here. We had recreation activities for seniors one year. We had golf clubs. We had different kind of events, CYO volleyball that they would help referee and run. But you never think of winning an award when you're working. But every athlete who's here tonight who was on my teams, and every parent who was here tonight with those daughters, I thank you, because you're the ones that made this night possible. And I thank all of you so much. Especially my wife, Jean. Sometimes I'd leave the house at 6 in the morning, come home at 10 at night. I didn't see her all day. And I had to check in every once in a while. Are we still together? So, my niece and nephew came from Arizona as a surprise. I haven't seen them in years and years. So just thank you. Thank you to Sister Beverly and Sister Rita and Sister Margaret Ann Kelly, who's looking down at us, as Beverly said. And there's a lot of people I could thank. The list goes on and on. But thank you, players, for being here. Thank you, parents, for being here. And God bless you all.
Okay, thank you, Sister Beverly Ann, for that awesome remarks, and thank you again, and congratulations to Coach Gary Bill. Okay. The Distinguished Alumna Award is given to a Beaumont graduate who, by her conduct in the private or public sector, embodies the ideals of the Beaumont community by having pursued a life of Christian leadership and service to society, and who, by her acts, brings dignity and pride to the Beaumont sisterhood. We have 3 former Distinguished Alumna Award winners here tonight, so when I call your name, please stand to be recognized. Kathy Gang Reaney, class of 1965. Dr. Molly McMahon Johan, class of 1984. And Judge Jessica Price Smith, class of 1990. I'd like to ask Chris Yanni Maestros, class of 1971, to come to the podium. Chris is a dear friend and classmate of Noreen friend Fraser. She also wrote the eloquent and impactful nomination of Noreen for the Distinguished Alumna Award. We are so pleased to have her talk about her friend. Chris.
Thank you and good evening. My nominee for Distinguished Alumna is fellow classmate Noreen friend Fraser, class of 1971. Smart, clever, funny, beautiful, and talented, whether stealing the show in Beaumont's Oliver or basking in the bright lights of Hollywood, she was a shining star. My lifelong childhood friend fiercely battled stage 4 breast cancer for 16 years. Passionate, determined, strong-willed, and tenacious, Noreen turned her misfortune into action when her breast cancer returned in 2001. Her desire to produce the first ever breast cancer cable telethon became a reality. She joined forces with several high-profile women in the industry to expand and co-produce this coveted project of hers. Noreen's work in the television industry included The Richard Simmons Show, ABC's Home Show, and Entertainment Tonight. In 2008, Noreen's telethon to fund women's cancer research became Stand Up to Cancer, an unprecedented collaboration uniting the major television networks ABC, CBS, and NBC, which donated 1 hour of commercial-free prime time for the nationally televised fundraising event. Over $100 million was raised during the show, a profound and staggering amount. This groundbreaking initiative was created to accelerate cancer research that gets new therapies to patients faster. Noreen herself was a beneficiary of the latest clinical trials at UCLA's Cancer Center, and also those treatments help extend her life. In 2007, Noreen and her dad, Fred, traveled to Lourdes, France, and Fatima in Portugal, hoping and praying for two miracles: to be cancer-free and to lessen the side effects of chemotherapy. Amazingly, Noreen would live another 9 years after their visit to these sacred places. Soon after this trip, Noreen created the Noreen Fraser Foundation to enlist men in the fight against women's cancers. This campaign featured prominent comedians promoting the importance of early detection. Noreen Fraser Foundation also partnered with Variety, which is Hollywood's industry newspaper, by hosting the annual Power of Comedy events, solidifying Noreen's favorite passion and mission, the healing powers of humor, laughter, and comedy. Jack Black was her favorite comedian, School of Rock, her favorite movie. In October of 2011, Noreen was the keynote speaker at the Global Breast Conference in Seoul, Korea. She often presented in Washington, D.C. at health conferences and was an honored guest of Dr. Jill and former Vice President Joe Biden at the White House. Noreen and her sister Laura climbed the Great Wall of China. She celebrated her 60th birthday with an African safari with her beloved family. The late Senator Edward Kennedy conveyed to his children that what mattered most was not the scale of an accomplishment, but that we do our share to make the world a better place, and that we learn we are part of something larger than ourselves. Noreen's mother, Jackie, who is here tonight, is a proud 1947 graduate of Beaumont. Noreen's five loving sisters also attended Beaumont. Colleen, class of 1970. Colleen, fluent from California. And Cooper, class of 1977. Thank you for your texts and your vote of confidence, Coop. Laura and Lucy, twins, class of 1979. And Lucy is here from Massachusetts. And Bridget, class of 1985. They were also wonderfully supportive and caring for Noreen. Thank you, President Hoke and Christy Salata and the committee for recognizing Noreen. She was a life changer and a woman for others. Noreen and Noreen's family remain one of my life's great blessings. Sorry. Now it is my honor to call up to the stage Noreen's sisters, Colleen Friend and Lucy Hutchinson, to accept the Distinguished Alumni Award on her behalf from President Wendy Hoke. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me now? I'm Colleen Friend. I'm Noreen's older sister. I know many of you thought I was her younger sister, but I'm her older sister, so I'd like to clarify that. So I'd like you to hold your reaction until my sister Lucy Friend Hutchinson also has an opportunity to speak, and then you can give us a great Yelp review. So I'd like to thank Chris Yanni Maestros for giving this nomination and also for pursuing it. Blessed are those who pursue it. So thank you, Chris. Chris was also my roommate for several years post-college graduation in Cleveland. And I'll just share you a little bit of a story. My dad used to call up our apartment when Chris and I were living together, and he'd say, "Hello, this is Fred Friend. Is Colleen Friend there?" Chris would go, "Who? Who are you talking about?" He'd go, "Colleen Friend." And so she'd go, "Okay, wait a minute." And then she would put the phone in the silverware drawer, and then she'd shake it. And then I just knew that was my dad calling. So I'd run to the phone, and I go, "Chris, what are you doing?" And then I'd pick up the phone, and my dad would go, "What the hell's going on over there? What the hell's going on over there?" Remember that? Remember that? Yeah, he says, yeah. He remembers that. So that was Chris Yanni. We had a lot of fun. But Chris has been a wonderful and faithful friend to Nor for many of these years, and so I appreciate that. So let me just say a few things I want to acknowledge. I want to acknowledge a lot of people here today. First of all, my parents, Jackie and Fred Friend, who are here today. And I'd like to acknowledge their creation in the role of Noreen. And I'd like to also acknowledge their really good friend, Joan Lauer, who was in their wedding party. Joan is here. And that's the power of Beaumont, lifelong friendships. So I really want to acknowledge that. I also want to acknowledge my brother, Bill Friend. Bill Friend, would you stand? Yay! That's my brother, Bill Friend. So he's here. He's the only one of us that still live in Cleveland, and that's great. I also want to thank Wendy Hoke and also Christy Salata, and I want to thank the Beaumont Alumni Association that is giving this award. And I want to say it's an honor to share this award with the stage with the Shipleys and the Athletic Association and Bill. Thank you all for sharing this with us. So if I could give you a few minutes, I want to say that I thought it was easy to accept this award, but I found that it was fairly difficult to acknowledge, what Noreen, her youthful spirit. I'm going to talk about three things. Youthful spirit, how Beaumont contributed to her accomplishments, and then third, her legacy. So here I've got, Noreen was an intensely spirited child, which made her a bit of a predicament for parents and school alike. But she had a clear vision of what she wanted, and when she didn't get it, everybody knew about it. This bode well for her struggle with cancer, and she was determined to beat it, and she did for about 16 years, and that was a bit of a miracle, and she probably got 2 miracles along the way, as Chris alluded to, my dad, and she went to Fatima. She had also very many of you that were praying and rooting for her. Initially diagnosed in 2001, when her son Mac was 7 years old, and her daughter Madeline, who she named after Madeline Broadhead Murphy, was 10. She would later say that this conversation that she and her husband Woody had with their children was just the most difficult thing she had ever had. So she, at that moment, determined that she was going to, A, make that conversation more optimistic for future mothers, and B, maybe not necessary at all due to some of the prevention efforts that she would spearhead. She became determined to make this happen and really try to prevent cancer. So she was driven by the idea that some aspects of cancer were underfunded, and she was right. And so she really worked very hard to find a funding mechanism for other aspects of cancer and make sure that they were explored, and you'll hear about that in a minute. She made it her business to collaborate with others to launch one of the most successful fundraisers in all of television history, which was Stand Up to Cancer, and my sister Lucy is going to explore that with you more. From there, she developed Men for Women Now, which encouraged celebrity men to encourage women on their birthday to get preventive mammograms. That was very important. And through her Noreen Friend Fraser Foundation and Variety, which is a big publication in Los Angeles, she developed an event called The Power of Comedy. And in that Power of Comedy, she awarded comedians for teaching us about things that we needed to hear, but needed the power of comedy to enter it into our consciousness. Noreen, this all boded well for Noreen being a strong-willed child to achieve all of this. Noreen was driven by the idea, again, that some things about cancer were underfunded, and so that's why she really wanted really hard to work for funding for issues that were underfunded, and that's what she did. Some of these accomplishments were rooted in her Beaumont days. It was here that she developed a real love for her girlfriends. Many of those relationships sustained her through her cancer treatment. At Beaumont, she learned that she loved the power to entertain and the power of comedy to teach. Who could forget Noreen's skit with Barb Schenkelberg, where she was crouched behind Barb Schenkelberg, showing how Barb Schenkelberg put on her makeup. It was a real treat. At Beaumont, she learned the importance of educating girls, and she worked very hard to make sure that her daughter Madeline had a top-notch education. She also got launched to she always knew she wanted to go to college, and she got launched to the University of Dayton and also the University of Loyola Marymount at California. At Beaumont, she got a sense that we were all here to help each other. She was always concerned about my parents, my sisters, our sisters' issues, my brother's issues, and her friends' problems. And wasn't that the legacy of Sister Angela Merici and the Ursuline Order? Nora was very family-centered. When she first moved to California, she frequently came home to visit. Her friends in California said, "Why do you take all your vacation in Cleveland? What's up with that?" So one day, Richard Simmons, who she worked for, got very curious. He arrived with no notice to my parents' house with a limo and his entourage. So we were all there on a Friday night. Who would be at their parents' house on a Friday night? We were. So we all piled in the car and we did what everyone else did. We went to Geraci's. But back to Noreen's legacy as a Beaumont grad. She used her cancer as a teacher because it was because it's true that when the student arrives, when the student is ready, the teacher arrives, a long Buddhist saying. I retrieved one of her blogs here, and she blogged under this very famous moniker that said, it said, "Standing Up to Cancer." She blogged what cancer has taught me. So I'd like to give you what she thought cancer taught her in her own words. First, I've learned so much through this process. I've learned to accept help from family and friends with gratitude, even though I'm normally the one giving the help, a much more comfortable position for me. I've learned to keep the faith and believe that I will kill the beast. I've learned that I must strive to know more about my disease than anyone else, even the doctors, because there are alternative therapies like acupuncture, yoga, meditation, and visualization, which can support the work of Western medicine. I've learned that no matter how much help and support I receive, I am on this journey alone, and I must make peace with what I believe will happen when I leave this earth. That particular fear will kill you. I've learned that laughing and a sense of humor can take you from point A to B. Third, most important of all, I still believe what I learned in grade school and high school, that we are here for the purpose of helping others. So with that, on behalf of my family, I'd like to accept this award, but hold your reaction until you hear from my friend Lucy Friend Hutchison, my younger sister.
Good evening, everyone. It's hard for me to add to what Colleen just said, but I will try, and I promise I won't speak for 73 minutes. But first of all, I do want to thank my dear parents. If Noreen were here, I'm sure she'd like to thank my mom for her charm and good looks. Mom. And my dad for her strong work ethic and sense of humor. But I may have gotten that mixed up. So, just saying. But just to add what Colleen said, Noreen was one of those gals that never took no for an answer, which did not bode well for my parents, right, in raising this child. And I'm sure it did not bode well for the Beaumont faculty, I'm sorry to say. But I will tell you, it did serve her very, very well in her career as a television producer, starting out in Cleveland at the Afternoon Exchange and then heading out to California to work for the Richard Simmons Show, Home and Family, and then later worked her way up to be the executive producer of Entertainment Tonight. I recently spoke to someone that worked with Noreen. Her name was Jane, who Noreen mentored at Entertainment Tonight. And she said, Jane told me that Noreen really taught her how to stand up for herself and not to take no for an answer. One time, a celebrity canceled on this young producer, and the young producer went to Noreen and said, "What should I do?" Noreen said, "You get out there and you tell them you're with Entertainment Tonight and nobody cancels on Entertainment Tonight and they have to be on air tonight." And she did, and that celebrity was on air. So that was just a little lesson that she learned. But I will tell you, when, speaking of Noreen, she conceived of and started Stand Up to Cancer, and I can't underscore that enough. She conceived of. She said, with my television background and my contacts in Hollywood, I should be able to produce a A telethon 10 times better than Jerry Lewis, come on. And that's exactly what she did. She used her contacts and that of her husband, Woody, to really put together a top-notch telethon. And I think you guys know, in 2008, the inaugural year, they raised $120 million for cancer research. But talk about not giving up. When Noreen first thought of Stand Up to Cancer, she went to all 3 television networks. She went to ABC, NBC, and CBS. And guess what? They turned her down. But she never took no for an answer. So when she got others involved, like Sherry Lansing, the president of Paramount Pictures, and she got Laura Ziskin, who was the producer of all those Spider-Man movies, and then she got Katie Couric involved. They went back to NBC, CBS, and ABC, and darn it, all 3 networks in an unprecedented way agreed to televise the Stand Up to Cancer simultaneously, which was never done in the history of television. So I'm very proud of Noreen for doing that. And again, in one night, they raised $120 million. But being in the pharmaceutical industry myself, I cannot stress enough the legacy that my sister Noreen has left from a medical perspective. Noreen recognized that baby steps were being made in the field of cancer research. She saw that individual scientists and pharmaceutical companies really worried about an intellectual property were not sharing any of the results of their research. And they weren't really contributing to science in the manner that she thought was really appropriate to help people that were really suffering from cancer. So, to distribute the funds from Stand Up to Cancer, Noreen set up these dream teams, which were made up of all the key opinion leaders in the oncology research in the world. And in an unprecedented way, Noreen required that groups partner together to compete for the funding. And that would be the pharmaceutical companies, the medical institutions, and independent researchers. And under this model, they would submit grant requests for large amounts of funding. And I'm not talking about $250,000, ladies and gentlemen. I'm talking about $25 million. The dream teams then would review these grant requests, and the funding would go to the most cutting-edge research that would make the largest advancement in cancer research. Dr. John Glatsby, who, by the way, is from St. Dominic's in Cleveland, was Noreen's doctor at UCLA, and he is one of the top leading experts in the world on oncology. And he said, under this research model, the cure for cancer is within reach and definitely within our lifetime. Many of you have seen the news just this past week that Dr. Jim Allison from the MD Anderson has won the Nobel Peace Prize for cancer treatment. In summary, the work of Dr. Allison and his colleagues were really done with Stand Up to Cancer funds. And they have unlocked our own immune system to fight cancer. So more to come on that. So Malcolm Gladwell has written about the tipping point, and that's defined as the moment of critical mass, the threshold or the boiling point. With Noreen's work, we are at the tipping point of cancer research, And we are almost there, my friends. Thank you. Noreen turned her misfortune of being diagnosed with cancer into helping so many others. Yes, it's hard to accept her passing in March of 2017, but I must say, being here, talking about my sister Noreen, it gives me an incredible sense of pride to know what she has done and the legacy she has left on this earth. It is true. She never took no for an answer. She was an incredible fighter. And I want to thank Wendy, Christy, and the Beaumont family, and all of you here today for recognizing my sister Noreen as the distinguished alumni tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you to Lucy and Colleen, and to the Friend family, Fred, Jackie, Bill, and all of the rest of them that are not here with us this evening. As a breast cancer survivor, I have to thank you for the gift of Noreen, because while she might not have personally benefited from her work, I certainly have. So thank you. Okay, so we've come to our final award of the evening. The Beaumont Award is given in recognition of an outstanding individual or group in one or more of the following categories: leadership, service, or philanthropy. In leadership, the recipient is not only a personification of Beaumont School's core values and beliefs, but has also been able to translate them into action and motivating others along the way. Those honored for service believe so deeply in the school's mission that they continually give more than is required, and they make a difference in the very livelihood of Beaumont. The Philanthropic Award is given in recognition of an individual or group whose support significantly impacts the financial well-being of Beaumont. We are fortunate tonight to have many past Beaumont Award winners in the audience. Please stand when your name is called. Sister Rita Mary Welsh, former president, class of 1963. Brian Shanahan. Carol Baird Roddy, class of 1952. Sister Susan Mary Rathbun. Joe and Louise Gambates. Tom and Maria Coyne, class of 1978 for Maria. Current cross-country and track and field coach Jim Emery. And Sister Beverly Ann LaGrasso. This year's Beaumont Award recipient fits in all three categories: leadership, service, and philanthropy. Ray and Eleanor Smiley share a strong belief in their Catholic faith and have always been committed to Catholic education. Together, they have raised 8 children and have 20 grandchildren, at last count. Their family's belief in the importance of Catholic education led them to make a substantial gift in July of 2017. Along with Beaumont School, the Smiley family gave similar awards to other Catholic educational institutions as well. Their generosity was recognized by the Association of Fundraising Professionals and by Bishop Nelson J. Perez. The reason we are honoring the Smiley family tonight is that they pushed us to think bigger about their gift. Use it as a challenge, Ray said. Let it help you to build capacity and grow your Beaumont Annual Fund. And so we did. The Smiley Family Challenge was our annual fund campaign for 2017-18 school year. The goal was to raise an additional $250,000 in new money. I am pleased to say we met that challenge in March of 2018. The Smiley Family Gift has significantly and dramatically expanded the resources that we offer students inside the classroom and outside of school. But more than that, it was Ray's vision for building capacity that was a game changer for our philanthropic efforts. It is my very great honor and pleasure to present the 2018 Beaumont Award to Ray and Eleanor Smiley.
This is an evening of delight, the honoring which the Smiley family has joined, and on behalf of Eleanor and myself, we thank you gratuitously. As I reflected the evening, can you hear me okay? As I reflected the evening, I thought it should be an evening of complete reflection. The things that I'd like to have you reflect upon this evening are the ingredients which were necessary to have the accomplishment that was completed by the university, by the school, I'm sorry. And the ingredients that they're doing, they just don't happen. They need a spark. They need leadership. And that it was completely accomplished in matching ours. We're pleased with the importance that there will be a continuity of Catholic education. But more important thing that I'd like to reflect upon you, as you sit here, reflect upon those things and those individuals who made it possible for you to become alumna. It was not only the sacrifices made by your parents and others perhaps who helped stimulate your education, and the gratuity of individuals who established programs and so forth to support your tuition requirements. But beyond that, there were sacrifices made by the teachers, those dedicated nuns and so forth who literally gave their lives a dedication of God to provide for your education. Remember and thank them for what they have done. Thank you for this evening. I hope that you will have a continuity of support of Catholic education. It is so important. We lack in many instances in a growing reduction of morality, civility, and honesty. And those are foundations of Catholic education. On behalf of Smiley family, thank you again. We appreciate the honor.
Once again, one more round of applause for the Smiley family. So So that does it for our first annual President's Reception, and I would really like to take a moment to thank our advancement team and especially Christy Salata for all her work on this event. So we will conclude tonight, as we conclude all of our school masses, with the alma mater. It's printed on the back of your programs and also on the screen.
You